Tomoya had worked in this office for 8 years. He thought he knew every face, every habit, but no one was prepared for what he found that night. The floor should have been dark. Instead, a single desk lamp lit a hunched silhouette. Koharu was still there, her pen moving with desperate speed. He drew closer. The notebook pages were filled, edge to edge with elegant, familiar characters. Too familiar. That was his handwriting. Koharu sensed him and spun around, her face drained of color, mouth open in a silent scream, eyes huge with terror. Tomoya's mind reeled. This was no coincidence. Every stroke mirrored his own, down to the tilt of his signature. He'd been copied. He stepped forward and grabbed the notebook from her frozen hand. His own fingers trembling, he flipped the pages, dozens, then hundreds, each one an identical replica of his writing. A chill crawled up his spine.
Explain this. Now.
It's not what you think.
But her voice vanished as his glare bore into her, and the silence between them was filled only by the pounding of her heart. 3 months earlier, before the notebook and the terror, Tomoya's biggest concern was a new hire joining his team. Her name was Koharu. Shy, with a voice that barely broke a whisper, she clutched a thick notebook to her chest on her first day.
Welcome to the team. I am Tomoya. I'll be your senior. If you have any questions, just ask.
Thursday, thank you. I'll do my best not to slow you down.
From day one, she stayed late. Even after the lights went out row by row, her pen kept moving.
She's dedicated, but what could possibly need that much writing every single night?
When he asked what she was working on, she just smiled and closed the notebook a little too quickly. Tomoya's own workload as the signatory for financial approvals left him little time to wonder. He pushed the oddity aside. Weeks turned into months. Koharu became a fixture of the late-night office, her notebooks multiplying like secrets, and somewhere in his memory, the shape of her characters began to whisper a warning he wasn't yet ready to hear. A casual remark in the break room changed everything. Koharu's notebooks weren't just filled, they repeated the same words endlessly.
The same characters, over and over. What could she possibly need to write that many times?
He began to watch her. Each time he neared her desk, her shoulders tightened and the notebook slid out of sight.
My signature is on hundreds of approvals every month. If she's planning to forge something, the fallout would destroy me.
Oh, it's just personal notes. Nothing you'd find interesting, Tomoya-san.
Every answer is a deflection. She's hiding something and I need to know what.
That night, he faked leaving. An hour later, he crept back through the stairwell. Her lamp still burned. He edged closer. Through the gap in her shelf, he saw the open page, familiar strokes, elegant loops, his handwriting.
That's not just similar. That's an exact copy. She's been forging my writing.
He withdrew into the shadows, heart pounding. Tomorrow, he would come back after hours. He would catch her in the act. Tomoya waited in the stairwell until the office went dark. Then he crossed to her desk and snatched the notebook from her hand.
Look at this. My name, my signature. The way I underline the date. You've copied everything.
That's not true. I would never forge anything, I swear. You have to believe me.
Then what is it? Because right now, it looks like you are preparing to commit fraud.
She tried to speak, but only a half-choked sob came out. Her silence stretched like a confession.
No answer. Fine. I am taking this to HR in the morning. You can explain it to them. She won't even defend herself. Either she's guilty, or she's protecting something worse.
He tucked the notebook under his arm. Koharu just sat there, hands limp, tears rolling down her cheeks. He walked out into the dark corridor, the weight of the notebook heavier than it should be. At home, he stared at the pages, and a whisper of doubt crept in. What have I actually seen? What if I am wrong? The next morning, Tomoya entered the HR office with the notebook before the coffee had finished brewing.
Miss Yoshida, I need to report a serious matter. This notebook contains my handwriting, copied without permission.
Your handwriting? Tomoya, you signed financial approvals. This is extremely serious.
Koharu was summoned immediately, her face pale as she entered the sterile room.
Did you write these pages? Do you deny they are exact copies of Tomoya's handwriting?
I wrote them, but it's not forgery. I swear it isn't.
Then explain. Why would you systematically replicate your senior's writing for months?
Koharu's mouth opened, but no words came. She simply lowered her head, and the silence condemned her.
Without an explanation, I have no choice. You are suspended pending a full investigation.
Tomoya watched from the doorway as she was led away. The victory he'd expected tasted only of ash. A week passed. The audit was exhaustive. Then Miss Yoshida called Tomoya back to her office.
Every document you signed was examined. Her computer, her past work. We found nothing. No forgery.
Then why? Why would she spend months copying my handwriting like a mirror?
She won't say. Without an explanation, we can't close the case. She remains suspended.
No forgery. Then my accusation was just a panicked overreaction.
He spotted her in the corridor later that day. Koharu saw him and immediately turned, walking quickly the other way. Her face was still stained from tears, and she clutched a small bag as if it were armor.
I did this to her. I took a quiet girl's secret and turned it into a weapon.
That night, sleep wouldn't come. Every time his eyes closed, he saw her face in the HR office and his own voice demanding answers.
What if there's a reason that isn't criminal? Something I couldn't see because I was too afraid for my own reputation.
The break room whispers grew louder. Tomoya heard his name and then hers, soaked in contempt. Her whole notebook was his signature. The little forger probably planned to steal millions.
I gave them the weapon. Now they're carving her reputation apart with it.
2 days later, Koharu returned to gather her belongings. She moved like a woman expecting a blow.
Koharu, please, I just want to talk.
She flinched as if he had struck her, then practically ran down the emergency stairs without a word. An HR contact pulled him aside. Without an explanation, we'll have to let her go. A week, maybe.
A week. And I am the reason she won't speak. She's terrified of me. I can't let this end without understanding. I'll follow her tonight. I'll uncover the truth myself.
That evening, Koharu exited through a side door. Tomoya followed at a distance, guilt heavy as chains. She took a train to a quiet district. Tomoya kept his distance, guilt pressing on his chest. The destination was a modern hospital. He paused at the entrance, then followed. The sterile hallway stretched before him. Through a door left slightly ajar, he saw Koharu, her hand wrapped around an old man's limp fingers. A nameplate on the wall read Takahashi. The name tugged at something deep in his memory.
Takahashi. Why does that name twist my stomach like a half-forgotten dream?
He backed away before she noticed, his mind a storm of half-formed connections. The next day, his search bore fruit. Mr. Takahashi was a retired calligraphy teacher suffering from advanced dementia, and Koharu's father.
A calligraphy teacher. That explains the precision in her strokes. But my handwriting, why copy it?
The puzzle still lacked a center, but one truth emerged. This was never about money.
No fraud. Just a daughter trying to reach a father who was slipping away, and I reported her.
Tomoya dug deeper into Mr. Takahashi's past, his browser history becoming a trail of half-remembered names. A photo surfaced online. A calligraphy school. The teacher in the center was the same man, decades younger.
That's him. That's the sensei who taught me how to hold a brush when I was 12.
He drove to his parents' house that afternoon without calling ahead. The attic held boxes from a childhood he'd nearly forgotten. In a dusty cardboard box, beneath old school reports, he found it. A thank you letter, yellowed with age.
My handwriting. It's exactly the same style. He taught me those strokes.
He held the old letter beside the notebook. The slant of the characters, the loop of the ge, identical.
Koharu wasn't copying a stranger's writing. She was copying a student's tribute. I accused her of forgery, but her father taught me how to write.
He stared at the two documents, his world tilting. The reason why still eluded him, but the lie behind his accusation lay bare. That evening, rain began to fall. Tomoya didn't bother with an umbrella. He climbed the stairs to her apartment, the old letter pressed inside his coat.
Koharu, open the door, please. I am not here to hurt you.
The door cracked open. Koharu's face was pale, her eyes red-rimmed. Shock and fear warred in her expression.
Tomoya-san, why are you? You can't be here.
I found this. A thank you letter I wrote to Sensei Takahashi when I was 12. He taught me calligraphy.
That's my father's name. You were his student?
Yes, and I don't understand why you needed my handwriting, but I know it's not what I accused you of. Please, tell me the truth.
She sank onto a cushion, her legs giving way. The silence stretched, then shattered as a sob escaped her.
He doesn't know me anymore, but your letter, your handwriting, it's the only voice he still answers.
Tomoya stood frozen, the letter trembling in his hand, as the fragile outline of a story he had never imagined began to emerge.
For 2 years, he's looked at my face and seen a stranger, but that letter, he still knows that letter.
On his hospital wall hung a thank you note from a student 3 decades ago. The last thing he recognized.
I wrote him notes in my own hand. He'd stare right through the paper. But when I copied yours, he looked up and said, Tomoya. The first time in months he'd said any name, your name.
She pulled out a thick stack of letters, each written in a flawless imitation of his hand.
I thought if I could just be you, even on paper, he might stay connected. That I could keep him here a little longer.
She turned my handwriting into a lifeline, and I tried to cut it.
I am sorry. I know it's wrong, but it was the only way he'd ever answer me.
Tomoya couldn't speak. The weight of his accusation collapsed into something far more fragile, a daughter's silent screaming. He stared at her, at the letters, at the trembling echo of his 12-year-old self. The truth was a wound he had reopened.
I almost destroyed the one thing keeping your father alive.
No, Tomoya-san. You were scared for your job. I understood that from the start.
Her forgiveness cut deeper than any accusation could. He deserved her anger, not her grace.
My own father died when I was 20. I never wrote him a single letter after leaving home.
She had spent months crafting what he had failed to give his own father. Every page a rebuke.
Can you ever forgive me for what I've done?
There's nothing to forgive. You came back. That's more than anyone else ever did.
He didn't feel absolved, but her nod gave him a direction. The letters would not stop.
I'll fix this. I'll write to him myself, every week, as long as he needs to hear it.
Outside, the rain had stopped, but inside, the real storm was only beginning to clear. The next morning, Tomoya returned to his desk like a man carrying an invisible weight.
An unfounded HR report like yours doesn't just disappear. It follows you, Sato. Remember that?
My career, my promotion, everything I've worked for. But what is that worth if I stay silent?
He looked at the calendar. Every week, she had come early and stayed late. Every date a letter to a dying man.
She gave up her reputation to speak to her father. I can give up my comfort to speak the truth.
He pushed back from his desk, the legs screeching against the floor. A few colleagues looked up. He didn't care.
If I am going to lose my job anyway, let it be for telling the truth, not for hiding it.
He walked toward HR. The old thank you letter folded in his pocket like a shield.
Koharu, your letters will reach him. Not from a copy, but from the real hand that wrote the first one.
Before the door closed, she was all he saw. Not a suspect, not a junior, just a daughter who refused to give up. Miss Yoshida looked up from her files, surprised to see Tomoya without an appointment.
I need to withdraw my complaint against Koharu. Everything I told you was a mistake.
Withdrawing? After all this? You'd better explain yourself clearly, Tomoya.
He told her everything. The calligraphy class as a boy. The framed thank you letter. A daughter's desperate imitation.
So she wasn't forging documents. She was writing to her father. And you want to admit your report was false. You know this will affect your record. A false complaint like this, it could stall your career.
I don't care about my record. She was suspended because I panicked. I'll take whatever punishment comes.
An hour later, Director Sato called him into his office. The door slammed shut with a force that turned heads.
You've made this department a laughingstock. Sato, admitting a false report, are you insane?
But outside that door, the whispers had already changed. Some colleagues looked toward the empty desk with a new, heavy silence. A day later, Miss Yoshida called both Tomoya and Koharu into her office. The verification was complete.
Koharu, the suspension is lifted effective immediately. Your record will show no wrongdoing. Tomoya, you will receive a formal warning for filing a false report. Do you accept this?
I accept it fully. It's the least I deserve.
Outside the HR office, Koharu caught him by the sleeve. Her voice was unsteady.
Tomoya, I don't know how to thank you. You gave me my life back.
Number. I am the one who should thank you. Let me write to him a real letter in my own hand.
You would do that? For him? A letter from the real Tomoya?
An hour later, they stood before the hospital. Not as accuser and accused, but as two people bound by a single memory. The real letters were about to begin. That evening, Tomoya sat at his desk, pen in hand. He wrote of ink stones and calligraphy lessons and a teacher who had shaped his world. The next afternoon, he stood beside Koharu in the hospital room. The machines beeped softly as he unfolded the letter.
Sensei, do you remember the first time I held a brush? You told me every stroke carries a heartbeat.
The old man's eyes flickered. For the first time in months, he turned his head toward the voice.
Tomoya.
Koharu gasped, her hands flying to her mouth as tears streamed down her cheeks. Her father had come back, even for a moment. The doctor later said it was a rare response in advanced dementia. The familiar handwriting had triggered a buried memory.
Every week, Sensei. I'll write every week, for as long as you need me.
And on the wall, beside the framed thank you note, Koharu would soon pin the first of many real letters. For 6 weeks, the letters came like clockwork. Every Sunday night, Tomoya wrote. Every Monday evening, Koharu read them aloud. Then, on a quiet Tuesday, Koharu's phone rang, the hospital's number. She answered with shaking hands. An hour later, she and Tomoya burst through the hospital doors. The corridor was too quiet. The doctor met them outside the room, his expression heavy. He's declining rapidly. We've done all we can. You should say your goodbyes.
Number. He can't leave us now. Not after all this.
Then I won't let him leave without hearing one last letter. The one I should have written years ago.
Without a word, he pulled a notepad from his jacket. The pen scratched as he began to write, fierce and fast. Koharu watched, her own hand wrapped around her father's, as the only man who could still reach him fought with ink. Each character carried 20 years of unspoken gratitude. A final lesson from his favorite student. Tomoya unfolded the letter and began to read. His voice trembled only once.
You taught me that a pen holds a soul. Your soul lives on in every character I write.
As he read, the room seemed to hold its breath. Then, Mr. Takahashi's hand stirred. His fingers found Koharu's and curled around them. A tear slipped from his closed eye.
Tomoya.
A serene smile settled on his lips. The heart monitor slowed, then flatlined into a single, eternal note.
Father, you heard him. You knew we were here.
Koharu broke down, but Tomoya held her, his own tears silent. The letters had done what no medicine could.
He's at peace now, and he knew. He knew he was loved.
They sat together in the quiet, the first light of dawn piercing through the curtains. A goodbye, neither rushed nor alone. The funeral was small. Only a handful of colleagues and the temple incense, curling like whispers. Koharu placed the final letter, the one Tomoya had read, into her father's folded hands.
You can rest now, Father. You were never alone.
Tomoya stood beside her, his presence, the only anchor she needed. After the service, they walked the temple grounds. The cherry blossoms had just begun to fall. Koharu stopped and pressed a letter into his hand. Her own handwriting for the first time.
She wrote, "Thank you for giving me back my father, and for giving me back myself. I'll keep it with the first one. It belongs in the same pocket."
She smiled, a real smile, the first he'd ever seen. A new chapter was opening, undefined but full of possibility, and they would write it together. Weeks turned into months. Every Sunday, Tomoya sat at his desk, pen in hand, writing not for a dying man, but for a living memory. The letters became a small legend in the office. Colleagues who once whispered now asked if they could read the weekly missives.
My father would have wanted others to know. Your words aren't just for him anymore.
One evening, Tomoya found an envelope on his desk. Inside, a note from Director Sato. Sato, effective immediately. Your formal warning for the false report is rescinded. Such character should not be penalized.
Maybe some bridges can be rebuilt. Not with erasers, but with patience.
Koharu's desk, once bare, now held a small plant and a stack of fresh notebooks. No longer secrets, but open pages.
Let's start a project. A handwritten newsletter for patients like my father. Letters of connection.
I am in. After all, I have a standing appointment every Sunday night.
The office lights dimmed, but their desk lamps stayed bright. Two pens moving, two voices echoing in the quiet. The newsletter grew slowly. Each week, a new story, a new name, a new connection. Handwriting became their shared language. One evening, they walked home together under the cherry blossoms, now in full bloom.
Do you think he sees the letters from wherever he is?
I think he sees us, and that's enough.
They sat in silence, watching the petals fall. Two people who had found each other through ink and loss. The next morning, first letters for the new project were dropped in the mailbox. A beginning, not an end. Tomoya still wrote every Sunday, not because he had to, but because the ink had become a promise. And on Koharu's desk, the stack of notebooks no longer held repetitions. They held plans, dreams, and a future. They never spoke of the word love. They didn't need to. Every envelope carried it, and in that small office, beneath the hum of fluorescent lights, two pens continued their quiet conversation. Time passed, but every Sunday night, a desk lamp still burned. Tomoya's pen never missed a week.
The hospital started a reading room. They call it the Takahashi Letters.
She smiled, her eyes carrying the same light as the day she first placed a letter in her father's hands.
He would be proud, not of the name, but of the reaching.
They stood before the framed thank you note, now hanging in the hospital corridor amid dozens of new letters. The words had multiplied, spreading across the walls like roots from a single seed. A nurse walked by and bowed. The patients ask for your letters every Monday.
We'll keep writing, as long as someone needs to hear it.
And long after the office emptied, two lamps stayed on, two pens, one promise. In the quiet, a single sheet fluttered to the floor. A thank you from a patient who had learned to write again.